Donald Trump once made very bold claims. He said he could end the Ukraine war quickly. His promise was within 24 hours if re-elected. This sounded simple and decisive to many. He repeated this assertion on numerous occasions. It became a signature element of his foreign policy vision. Trump suggested his unique negotiating abilities were the key. This was his stance before returning to the presidency. Many observers were skeptical, yet his supporters remained hopeful. However, a significant shift has occurred. On May 22, 2025, Mr. Trump privately admitted something different. He stated that Russian President Vladimir Putin is not ready to stop, not yet. This admission revealed his frustration with the Kremlin. The lack of movement towards peace was clear. He shared these thoughts with his closest advisors. His foreign policy aides also heard this new assessment. The reality of Putin's entrenched position was becoming undeniable. This marked a notable departure from his earlier public confidence. The contrast between these positions is striking. His public bravado spoke of an immediate resolution. Now his private realism paints a much more somber picture. The 24 hours pledge seems like a distant memory. His current view reflects a deeper grasp of the war's complexities. It indicates a new understanding of Mr. Putin's true intentions. This change in tone is quite apparent to those observing closely. It signals a potential recalibration of his diplomatic approach. The complexities of the war seem to have impressed themselves upon him. This shift did not happen in a vacuum. It followed crucial conversations with European leaders on May 19, 2025. Trump reportedly told them that Putin believes he is winning the war. This acknowledgement came after a 2-hour phone call. The call was with President Putin himself on May 18. Publicly, Trump described that conversation in positive terms, calling it excellent. Yet the private takeaways were evidently quite different. This reveals a potential gap between public pronouncements and private assessments. European leaders directly heard this more cautious perspective from Trump. The war in Ukraine continues for several hard reasons. Fighting remains incredibly intense, especially in eastern Ukraine. Russian missile attacks on Ukrainian cities are ongoing. There is currently no discernible sign of de-escalation. The conflict remains dangerously active and fluid. Both Ukrainian and Russian forces are deeply dug in. The tragic human cost mounts with each passing day. A lasting peace appears to be a distant hope for many. This is the stark and challenging reality on the ground today. Vladimir Putin's objectives also fuel the conflict's continuation. Russia currently occupies roughly 20% of Ukrainian territory. This is a substantial portion of a sovereign nation. Western intelligence agencies suggest Moscow is preparing for a long war. Putin himself shows no inclination towards compromise or withdrawal. His strategic goals in Ukraine appear to be fixed. He seems determined to consolidate Russia's territorial gains. This uncompromising stance makes meaningful negotiations extremely difficult. His resolve to pursue these aims appears undiminished by setbacks. Diplomatic efforts to end the war have repeatedly faltered. Direct peace talks were held in Istanbul on May 16, 2025. These discussions concluded without any major breakthroughs. The Russian delegation presented very stringent demands. They insisted that Kyiv surrender 4 Ukrainian regions claimed by Moscow. Furthermore, Russia threatened to seize even more territory. This illustrates Russia's unyielding position at the negotiating table. Diplomacy has time and again hit a formidable wall of resistance. The path to a negotiated settlement remains blocked. New peace talks are anticipated at the Vatican. These discussions are scheduled for mid-June 2025. President Trump has announced his intention to send representatives. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will attend. Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, will also be present. However, Trump himself has appeared somewhat non-committal. He seems hesitant about the extent of the United States' role. This uncertainty casts a shadow over American leadership in these talks. The prospects for these discussions achieving a breakthrough are unclear. Ukraine's reaction to Mr. Trump's latest remarks was telling. Officials in Kyiv expressed little surprise at his private admissions. They indicated that they have encountered similar sentiments before. A spokesperson for President Volodymyr Zelensky stated their position clearly. The only thing Putin understands is strength, the spokesperson said. Ukraine will continue to defend its sovereignty and its territory. They affirm they will do so with or without Mr. Trump's diplomatic efforts. Their national resolve to resist remains exceptionally firm. This underscores Ukraine's determination to fight for its survival. European leaders have also processed Trump's changed perspective. He directly informed them that Putin believes Russia is winning. This was reportedly the first time they heard this assessment from Trump. As a result, European leaders now perceive a greater responsibility. They increasingly believe it is largely up to them to support Ukraine. The certainty of robust United States commitment seems to have diminished. This shift could significantly alter the dynamics of international support for Kyiv. Europe may need to shoulder more of the financial and military burden. This is a considerable adjustment in their strategic calculations. There are also apparent disagreements on the terms for peace. European leaders are insisting on an unconditional ceasefire. This is their primary demand heading into the Vatican talks. President Trump, however, has expressed hesitation. He reportedly stated that he did not like the word unconditional. This is notable, as he had used that very term previously. He posted it on his Truth Social platform on May 8, 2025. This inconsistency highlights a potential divergence in strategic approaches. It could complicate unified Western efforts towards a peace settlement. Mr. Trump has also sent broader messages to Europe. He has told President Zelensky and other European heads of state something crucial. He indicated that they would need to find a solution to the war themselves. Furthermore, his administration opposed continued support for Kyiv in a G7 statement. This approach signals a potential United States pullback from deep engagement. European nations are now increasingly expected to step up. They might even have to cover the costs of United States weapons exports. This represents a significant potential shift in United States foreign policy. It places more onus on European capitals. Ending the war in Ukraine is an extraordinarily difficult task. Even the most powerful world leaders find such conflicts challenging. Complex geopolitical interests are deeply and intricately entangled. Positions on both sides have hardened considerably over time. The scale of human suffering adds immense pressure and complexity. Swift, clean resolutions are exceptionally rare in these situations. President Putin's current uncompromising stance remains a primary obstacle. His unwillingness to negotiate seriously blocks any path to peace. The international community struggles to find effective leverage. President Trump's new, more private view could reshape United States diplomacy. It suggests a potentially more realistic, perhaps cautious stance. This is a departure from his confident campaign rhetoric. He has grown increasingly skeptical about reaching a resolution without greater pressure. Yet he also seems wary of deeper United States entanglement. He has expressed a preference for a diplomatic surge. This contrasts with President Biden's policy of substantial military aid. It signals a possible change in the direction of American foreign policy. His statement, "This isn't my war," is particularly telling. This shift in Trump's perspective may also involve political calculations. He could be attempting to appeal to different segments of United States voters. Some voters favor isolationism, while others prefer traditional Republican strength. Critics, however, continue to accuse him of being overly sympathetic to Putin. Regardless of motivations, his admission underscores the war's harsh realities. It highlights that even a United States president cannot unilaterally end such a conflict. This serves as a sobering lesson in the limits of power. The complexities of international crises often defy simple solutions. The path towards a lasting peace in Ukraine remains arduous and uncertain. President Trump's evolving stance indicates a recognition of these deep complexities. However, his proposed actions and public statements have been mixed. He shows less enthusiasm for new sanctions on Russia. He has also declined to join in imposing new sanctions recently. Will this new realism lead to more effective, nuanced diplomacy? Or will it result in the United States stepping back from robust engagement? This question remains critical for Ukraine, for Europe, and for the world. The future stability of the region hangs in the balance.